Hi, guys. We are back with a really special episode because we are celebrating 6 years.
6 years.
6 hours. I guess it's 5 or 6. 6 years of being a podcast. And one thing that we've realized from being in podcasting this long is it is hard.
It is.
It is a lot of people don't last this long. It is something that is so special to both of us. We have a lot of different parts of our job, but this is one where we truly love being on these microphones. We love interacting with you guys. We love interviewing our guests. We just love it all. And so we are here to stay. We are built to stay. And we thought it would be really fun to reflect back on an episode that we did at the very beginning. So imagine 6 years ago, I had a baby.
Yes.
You weren't even pregnant yet with Owen. It's when you put it like that, we've really lived so much life in front of these microphones. Like we really grew up as moms in front of these microphones. And we've grown in our marriages. We've grown, you know, in every area, hopefully. So we're going to go back and reflect on the questions that we answered in that episode. We're going to tell you what we said back then, and then we're going to give you our updated answer on how we would answer it today. Okay, so the first one we talked about is, what is your biggest struggle in marriage?
Yeah, they were really heavy hitting. I mean, that was the first question that we answered on the podcast ever. And I said scorekeeping. So I'll say I've gotten a lot better at scorekeeping. It's kind of one of those things that's in my mind right now. So I know the score. I know the scoreboard. I don't say it out loud as much. I mean, when I get really ticked off, I do.
Like
but
is it like a conscious act in your mind? You're like, okay, you're keeping score, but you know now that it's not healthy to say it out loud to the other person.
Yes. And I don't want to keep score. It's just innate in my bones. I mean, I'm almost 40. I feel like it's just been part of my life forever. Probably not even just with marriage, probably with other relationships too. So I'm not trying to do it, but I just know it's in my body. So I don't have to say everything that's on my mind. And that's one thing that I choose not to say. But now I would say that the biggest struggle in our marriage is the inability to apologize and then overall lack of awareness. With Colin, I feel like there's so many times where I am doing so much. I am, putting forward so much effort. I feel like I'm taking on the lion's share, and he won't say anything. He won't say thank you. He won't say like, I see that what you're doing. He won't notice it, or maybe he does, but he doesn't say anything out loud. So it's the lack of awareness. I'm like, I just need a thank you at this point. I would love for you to step in, but I really just need a thank you. And then the apologies is something that we're still working on. I've brought that up on the podcast so many times, but Colin is a person that he won't apologize unless he really, really, really means it. And I sometimes think that he could mean it a little bit more, just once in a while.
That's interesting. So it's basically under communication.
Yes,
on Colin's side.
Do you have anything? Oh, hold on. So I did ask Colin leading up to this episode, what do you think is our biggest struggle in marriage? Because I wanted him to have, equal say in this. And he said that I bring up the same arguments over and over again. And I agree with that.
Imagine that.
I do. I agree with that. I know, what is it? The institutes and the therapists, they say something like 67.
The
Gottman Institute says, I think it's 67 or 69% of relationship conflicts are unsolvable. And I completely believe that. And I do bring up the same things over and over again. I wish I didn't, but I do think.
Do you bring it up because you do feel like it is solvable, or do you bring it up when things are boiling up and then it's just kind of your go-to?
The boiling up is where I used to always go to. I'd keep it in. And then all of a sudden I just couldn't keep it in anymore. Now I try to bring it up in different ways. So I don't think that that's actually solving. I'm trying to get this figured out. I bring it up in different ways. I'll bring it up lighter. I'll bring it up as a question. I'll bring it up in front of company.
Could you give us an example?
So, I mean, like a very, very simple one is the level of tidiness in our home. Okay. So the level of tidiness, we both have different ideas of what tidy is at the end of the night. I have a really hard time sitting and watching TV if there's a mess around me. Colin has no problem with it. And I've told him this. I'm like, I can't relax. You'll have an easier going wife if I can relax and just sit here and watch TV if the floor is cleaned and the counters are cleaned. It's a very, like, those two things. It takes about 10 minutes. So it's not even that long. The kids can help out with it. But if we go to sit down, I will literally be so fidgety that I can't relax. And so I'll bring it up in the moment of like, hey, can we just like do a quick clean up because I can't relax, or I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to read, or I'm going to go in the other room and read. And then he'd be like, oh no, let's just try another show. So then I'm like, okay, that one didn't work. Should I be passive aggressive with this one? Should I say, okay, right now I can't relax until we do this. So I've tried to bring it up different ways that way.
Okay, this is really interesting for me because also it's like, why should you get your way?
And that's the truth too.
Because the level of tidiness isn't like a law. I do think it's really hard when people have Abby's personality type, and Drew is more like Abby, we always say, because it's like, no. And a therapist on the podcast said, that's your preference.
It's my preference.
That's not the rule. And his preference is to relax right then. So I do think it gets really hard, but I hear what you're saying when you're like, I physically can't do it because my mind can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. So I brought it back to him of being like, you will enjoy this more with me because I'll enjoy it more if we can just clean up a little bit. And these are small things, right? A lot of the things are really small things, but when they add up over and over again,
it happens all the time.
Every single night I see it. So that was mine. Okay. What about yours? Biggest struggle in marriage 6 years ago?
So at the time I said the time crunch of everything, because at the time I was a nurse and I was trying to do this and I had Expecting and Empowered and we had small kids. I do think our lives have gotten a lot, I do want to say easier. I was going to say better. I was like, I don't know if that's the right word. Easier because our kids are now really capable of doing a lot of things and they're really capable. They don't need us all the time now. And so that has eased up a lot, but I think we still our issue, I would say, and I've brought this one up on the podcast a bunch of times, is that I feel like when we are each low on patience, it can be taken out on the other family members, which I think is really common, but I do think it's unfair and it really bothers me. So for me, I think I take it a little bit more out on Drew, and what that looks like is I'll just make like snarky comments to him, like little zingers. And he, I feel like, has a really short patience with the kids. And then when he's really impatient with the kids, I don't like that. I feel like that's not really, you just got home from work. Like, how are you yelling at the kids? So that's kind of the ongoing, like when we are both having, stressful moments or whatever, where does that stress go? And I do think that might be an unsolvable one. Because yes, of course, it would be great if we could go for a walk or, all of these things. And Drew and I both, we work out. We, have a lot of healthy habits, but we are still in a demanding phase of our careers. And the parenting has gotten easier in so many ways. But as I always say on Instagram, our kids are very loud and they're very physical. And so they're always wrestling around, and inevitably that usually ends with one of them, gets hurt a little bit. So it's just very overstimulating, and they really will never, they're like Abby they will never just sit down and chill. And we're like, could you sit down and watch this game? Please, I'm begging you. So it's just a lot. I think we could both do better. I don't think it would get perfect.
When it sounds like the triggers are still there, but you have a lot more ways to manage it. And you guys are so good, like you said, with working out and with talking and like those types of things. You are so good at that, but the triggers are still there. They're just a little bit different.
Yeah. We'll be very self-actualized if we figure out how to not take it out on each other.
There we go.
Okay. The next question we answered was, what makes you feel the most guilty in motherhood? And at the time I said that I had so much going on, like I just said. So often my mind was in other places. And if you remember, I don't know what episode that was, maybe 9, where I was bawling on the podcast about, because I had a work trip and I was going to leave Cole for the first time. And that is really hard. Anyone that is back in, and you're currently in that phase of life where you have really small children and you've got work and maybe you've got a work trip and things are pulling at you. Like, I felt immense mom guilt. You can listen to me throughout the 6 years, like really get better at it, because where I am today is I really don't feel guilty for working. I don't feel guilty for taking time away from them. I don't feel guilty for going on a vacation. I just think that makes me a full person and makes me happy and makes me who I am. And now I think because my kids are older, I can see that it has worked out. Like they are very happy kids. We have really great relationships. I just think the guilt eases when you see, like they're proud of me for my work. They understand what it means to go on vacation. Like, I don't know. I just think that they get it. So my guilt has gotten so much better over these 6 years. And I think if you're going through it, the idea of it is a practice. So at first, when we first started the podcast, it was hard for me to agree to go to dinner with a friend because I never wanted to miss bedtime. And like I had this pressure on myself. And so I would go to dinner, like try to race back so I could put Max to, put the kids to bed. To go from that to like today being like, honestly, I feel great. Like I don't feel guilty. It feels really good, but it was a practice because it's like, okay, first you go to dinner and then you go on a short weekend away with your partner. And then you really work in steps and you have to work on your mindset.
Yeah. And over 6 years, your kids have gotten older. You have figured it out yourself. Also, like our jobs, isn't it so much fun when the kids start to ask about our jobs and to ask about our days and to ask about the trips? I do think it helps out a ton.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say now for where you feel?
Oh, that was it. Okay. Like I just don't really feel guilty.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a really freeing feeling too. Yeah. It's so freeing. You had mentioned bedtime, how you wanted to rush back for bedtime. That was where I felt the most guilt. So 6 years ago, I wasn't really on Instagram a whole lot back then. And so I didn't really know. I mean, people weren't really being vulnerable. So all I saw was people with their cute little bedtime stories and tucking their kids in and how magical of an experience it was. And I didn't have that experience. I mean, when our babies were really, really little, I should say, when Lucy was really, really little, I liked it. And then somewhere around 1.5 years, she started screaming at bedtime. I mean, for hours. We had to hire a sleep consultant. It was awful. For 1.5 years, she would scream herself to sleep. And I would have no patience at the end of the night. Mm-hmm. I was overstimulated. All I wanted was a break. All I wanted was a little bit of time to myself. And so I loathed bedtime. And it was such a guilty feeling for me because everyone's always talking about how they wanted to rush back and put their kids to sleep. And I'm like, I literally think about it and my skin starts to crawl because I know how stressful the situation is going to be. And it wasn't just the kids. It was me too. Like, I'm not going to just say that it was the kids screaming. I could have reacted better to it. My husband, he did great with that. So actually for a while, he would put the kids to sleep more often than I would. I was also traveling at the time, which we'll talk about in a different answer. But I just remember feeling so much guilt about bedtime. I don't feel that way now. It also is easier. So that's like one thing is just some things do get easier. But what I do feel guilt about, where I experience guilt now, is that our evenings feel really scrambled. And sometimes the priorities aren't what our calendar actually has. And so especially in the fall when each kid has 2 sports, 1 or 2 days a week, I feel like our nights, it's like I don't even get to see the kids. Like we're not sitting down to eat a meal together. We're not doing homework together. We're not, sometimes we don't even read before bedtime. And the priorities that I see as a mom of like wanting them to, be good in school and be kind to each other, I feel like we're not putting a lot of time into those because our schedule is just so scrambled. And so it's a little bit easier in the wintertime, I will say, because we don't have as many sports. So it's eased up quite a bit, but it's still just that feeling of like, I just really want to make sure that I'm doing the right things and putting the time and energy into the right spots, especially in the evenings when I'm with the kids.
Here's the thing, and we've talked about this so much on the podcast, is it feels, I think the sports participation is really hard for you because if it were all up to you, you might have them participate in a little bit less.
It would be in a lot less. Yes.
A lot of us have to compromise on what gets scheduled. And so you feel a little misaligned with your family's priorities, but your partner might feel really aligned with
the
priorities.
I know.
And it gets back to like who gets to have the final
kids
say.
Like it too. And that's the hard part is that Colin loves sports. He loves coaching sports. He loves watching sports. And our kids also love it. But then I look sometimes, I'm like, should we be reading more? Like, are their grades dropping a little bit? Should we be doing some tutoring sessions? Should we add that part into, since academics is also very, very important to me.
So you guys, behind the scenes, we have to re-record this episode because Abby's mic wasn't plugged in. What was that, a week ago or a week and a half, 2 weeks ago? Yeah.
Yes.
So anyways, and now, so we have our notes, but I can't remember everything I said in that episode, obviously, because it was 2 weeks ago. But I remember at the time, actually, the guilt for this one, I did answer that we really, in our household, we've put a really big value on athletics, and our boys love it. And I love it, and Drew loves it. So we're more all aligned on that. But it does make me feel bad if the kids ever, are having an issue in school and you're like, gosh, why didn't we also prioritize, like, make sure, obviously all of us read to our kids or read with our kids, but could we do it more, And then if they do have a struggle in school, you're like,
is that on?
It feels like it is on you, because you're like, they're my kids. Right. Like they're in this household. So that's one thing that we've learned, and there are things to do, but yeah, I feel like it does make you feel bad when your kid has a struggle with something. But then on the other hand, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm on the internet a lot. Every person is going to struggle at things. And so I think for our generation, we really think we want to fix it, or we feel at fault if our kid is bad at math or something. It's like, there's going to be kids that are bad at math. Right. I wasn't great at it. Yeah. I'm not good at math. So, just kind of like taking a step back and thinking like, okay, this is good for them to have to work through something and stick to something. And of course, I want to help and be part of the solve, but just to temper your guilt a little bit and be like, they're not going to be, very few among us get to be amazing academically, athletically, everything. Just, figure out how to help them work through it and show them what it is to work through something that's hard.
Yeah. I also love that we're on a group chat with 3 moms that we share our kids' test scores once in a while, or just like when it happens. And it's like a no shame, no guilt thread where everyone's like, you're doing great.
Our friend hates standardized tests. So she's always like, screw the test.
The test isn't right. My kid is wonderful.
I don't know if that's right or wrong, but if you ever feel bad about a standardized test, go to her. She's going to tell you. Screw the test. Okay. Our next question. Wait, did you answer what? Oh, yeah, you did. Okay. The next question we answered, hardest thing about being a working mom. And at the time I said time crunch, and that obviously that was a very common theme for me back then. And also being protective of time with them. That still feels like it hits, honestly, because our job, Abby and I's job, is really unique, where we could honestly work all the time, meaning, post an Instagram story, post a link. Like, that's the way that we make a good chunk of our money. And it's tempting, to be like, okay, we're at the soccer game. This chair, what do you call that? The chair you sit on to watch soccer game, the foldable chairs. These sell really well. Should I pop this up? But now I do try to, be at the experience. And then after it's done, like on the way home, I will link the stuff, because that's, again, how this business works. So yeah, I feel like I do struggle at when to turn off work, because I love what I do, to be honest. And it's just so tempting to, make content and make money. But I do want to have boundaries where I know I'm allowed to, not be on my phone on Christmas or whatever it is.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. I would have the exact same answer of just, when do you turn off work and turn on mom? Because it is just so overlapped. I mean, even the products that we're selling, a lot of times it's the toys that our kids are playing with. So it's so easy to pop up the toy and have them playing with it and then say, okay, let me just grab a quick video of this right now, because they're doing such a good job with it. And I know other people would also love it. It was interesting though, because the last time, 6 years ago, when I answered that question, I felt like I had to be so polarized in my roles. So I was working in a job where I was a traveling salesperson. It was corporate through and through. I was one of only 7 saleswomen at my company at the time, and not a lot embraced motherhood. So it was one of those things where I didn't talk about my kids with my clients. I didn't talk about my kids with my coworkers. Many of them weren't moms, never wanted to be moms. Others were just younger and weren't in that stage. So it was one of those things where I just completely turned off my motherhood experience when I was at work. So it's literally the exact opposite of where I'm feeling with it, where I couldn't talk about motherhood. And now my Instagram and on our podcast, like it's a lot of motherhood. It's a lot of motherhood in that. So figuring out when to turn it off is difficult. I think with a lot of people's jobs and just with a lot of, I think that's a very relatable answer of like, when do you turn different things off? Well, I think with our job, it's just extra hard because we share so much.
Our job is in our hands. It's on our phone. But obviously for other people, it's like their job is on their mind. Their job is, their laptop's right there. And they also have a lot of responsibilities. I mean, I know plenty of corporate Americans that really have a hard time turning their work off, and they work every night too.
Right.
So,
or you give all your energy during the day and then all of a sudden you get home, you don't have energy. It's so hard. Oh yeah. The next question.
Oh, what debt do you have? Okay. At the time I shared this quote and it said, women would rather talk about the way they wanted to be buried. Like, do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried in a casket? Rather than talk about their salary, rather than talk about their debt. Like, women have a really hard time talking about money. And so we were starting the podcast. We had this idea, we're going to start really hot. We're going to answer these questions where like no one on the internet at the time was answering these questions. Like, let's just go for it. We wanted to show you guys like, this is what the podcast is going to be. So that one made it in because we're like, I mean, honestly, no one talks about this. So okay. At the time, I don't even remember. I mean, what debt would I have had? Our house, I think.
I think that was it because you guys paid off your car pretty fast too.
Yeah. Well, anyways, in the last 6 years, Drew and I had paid off our house that we live in now, and we paid off our Suburban right away fast too. I don't really like debt. And Abby and I always talk about this. In our childhood, we grew up without a lot of money. So we have these scarcity tendencies that we're like, we don't want to owe people money. Like, we don't want to owe people money. But in the last 6 years, like, our husbands have also helped us to learn more about, obviously we understand investing money and that paying off debt fast. To everyone except for Dave Ramsey, it's like everyone knows you should invest, because you can actually make more investing than you can sometimes paying off your debt fast. All of that to say, okay, so current day, what debt do I have? I own half a cabin with Abby and Colin. And that's the only debt that Drew and I have right now. Our brand new house is going to be finished at the end of February. And then we will owe money on that.
There we go.
Which I'm like, I don't even, if I could pay for the whole thing.
I know. We have the same thought with it. How much more can we put down?
I probably would, but I know that Drew is very smart and capable. I know our financial advisor is very smart and capable. I know that I trust the process of the order in which to do things. I trust myself to keep on working hard.
Those are good mantras. I like this.
Like, I trust the process. Coaching myself.
She's giving herself. Yeah.
Because do you believe this? If you guys make big life choices as adults, I'm sure a lot of you can relate. You're like a little bit, like, this is a big decision. Like, it is a big decision. That's kind of how I think of it. It's like, okay, I trust the process. I trust Drew. I trust myself. I trust our lender. Good luck to
trusting the world here. We got this. Oh my goodness. Well, and also going from no mortgage, mortgage, no house payment to all of a sudden a house payment. It's just a different jump than going from a house payment to a larger house payment. It's just a different feel. But you did it once. Yeah. You can do it again. You can do it again. I noticed my hands getting sweaty when you were talking because these are the questions that, who talks about their own debt in front of, thousands and thousands of people. At the time that we recorded, we had no debt. And I was so nervous about ever
to say that because you felt like you were bragging.
Because I felt like I was bragging.
And obviously we understand that there's people in a lot of different positions, and there's hardworking people in very different positions. So we totally acknowledge that.
And I think that the way we got to being debt free, it just wasn't the healthiest way. Like, looking back now, she spits out her coffee. Looking back now, we were so proud of what we did, but we would say no to vacations sometimes. We would, if I was,
she wouldn't buy a coffee.
I wouldn't. No, absolutely.
She would
not.
pack her chips.
Yes. If I wanted the extra guacamole, I wouldn't get the extra guacamole. Like I wouldn't say yes to the 30-cent things and to the $3 things and the $300 things. It was all the things. I would say no to everything. And it's scarcity mindset 101. Like I know exactly where it was coming from. So it wasn't even like we were very proud of ourselves when we did it. But then at the end of it, we're like, okay, what now? What's the goal now? And I will say, because we were debt free for a couple of years, we kind of lost our mojo a little bit. There was a time where we can obviously we're gonna keep on working because we love to work and we love to be hardworking, but what are we working for? And we always lived well below our means. I think that's the other part too, is that we always lived well below our means. We didn't stretch ourselves on anything. I remember when we bought our house, so that was 4 years ago now. We do have a mortgage payment now on our primary house, and then the one that we share with the Kiefers, and that's our debt right now. I remember like looking at it and knowing that we could afford it, but not wanting to. Being like, I know we can afford it, but I don't want to. Like, what would happen if one of us lost our jobs? What would happen if? And those are just things that probably wouldn't happen. Like it probably wouldn't happen. And Colin and Drew are both so good. We have issues. Colin and Drew both have had conversations.
We have literally like so many different revenue.
I'm sweating right now.
And we have so many different revenue streams coming into this business because that makes us feel safe.
Yes. If this one goes down, we still have this one, and this one, and this one.
So like we are like we should seek financial. It is a thing.
It is therapy. Yeah. It is therapy, financial therapy.
Because we have issues. Okay.
But both Colin and Drew have both sat us down at separate points in time and talked us through those different pieces. They're not therapists, but they also, they're so good with finances. We know our finances. It's not that we don't have the keys to our finances, but they just know them so well that if there was ever a, fill in the blank catastrophic event of Amy and I thinking this is what we would do instead. So it's good that we have partners that can tuck us down.
Okay, our next question, if Abby stops sweating now, is what is your biggest body insecurity? So I remember in that season, I was like known on the internet to be very body positive, which I always was. I mean, Abby, literally, I remember the first time you came over and you were in my basement, you're like, I've literally never heard a woman, because we were talking about food and I was like, I don't really have big food issues. And Abby's like, I've literally never met a woman that like doesn't.
Well, and Amy had talked, I'm going to pause you here because Amy had brought it up so many different times in ways where she just nonchalantly was like, no, I don't have that. No, if I want chips, I'll eat some chips and then I'll stop. Like I will eat a cookie and then I don't need to have the entire thing. And you just said it so nonchalantly that I'm like, wait, what? That can be, are you lying? Are you lying? And you said it so many times. I'm like, she's not lying. This is literally her truth. And coming from a binge eating background, there was no way. That was definitely not my truth, especially, I guess at that point in time, I was on my way to recovery, but hearing you talk about it was just, it was goals. It was absolute goals.
So I learned, when I was like in college, I would do the whole thing where me and my friend Maggie, we would like eat a big Sunday meal, like Chinese food or order pizza or whatever. And then we'd always be like, okay, on Monday, we're going to do this. So I've definitely done that. But then once I learned about intuitive eating through the internet, basically what really stuck for me is like, if everything is available to you, then you could actually be more comfortable around food. Because what I would do, and I even wrote blog posts about this, is like, I just wouldn't have tempting foods in my house. But then when I would be around them, it's like I wanted to eat, because then I'm like, once the bag is gone, I have to be done, obviously, type of. But now there's a ton of tempting food in my house and I just don't care because I know it's available to me. Like if I want puppy chow, my mother-in-law makes this like famous puppy chow. We're almost to the end. Then I'll have some puppy chow, but I know that I don't need to like get it out of the house to be okay around it. Yeah. But I know that's so hard. And I know that a lot of women do not have that mindset. And I wish I could unlock that it was definitely a work in progress. But when I met Abby, I had the progress. Like I was really comfortable around food. So anyways, all that to say, I at the time was like a face in body positivity. And so I just felt like I couldn't even name an insecurity publicly because this is my mind. I'm like, I don't want to be a bad example for women. I don't want to be a bad example for women. And what if she hears me say, I'm insecure about my stomach and her stomach is bigger than mine? You see what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's a slippery slope. And at the time, it just so mattered to me, and it still does, to protect other women and to not have them look at their own bodies and be like, what is but at the end of the day, I think we all live in our bodies. I have a very good relationship with my body, but are there things that I sometimes think about? Like, of course, I think every single person does. I don't think it's wrong to be honest. So for me, genetically, I just don't have a great, my skin on my stomach is just, after having 3 big 8-pound babies, just never went back. And to me, instead of, I know some people go completely the opposite, where they'll still wear a bikini and they're like proud of that. And those are their lion scratches. I don't even know what they say. Tiger marks. I don't know, whatever it is. And that's great. And I love that. For me, I'd rather wear a black one piece that I feel so comfortable in, so good in. Like, I feel like I look really great than do that. So I've just learned how to dress my body in a way where like I feel really good. And that's what I do. So if I do have any insecurities, it's like I know how to feel good about myself. And for me, it's not to necessarily put that on full display. It's I know how to dress my body in a way that I feel really good about.
And I think that's, that's so good with confidence, is that you have a skill now that you know exactly how to dress your body. And I wish that more people had that, because it does not come naturally to me to figure out, okay, I don't like this part of my body, how it looks in these jeans. How do I need to fix it? But you help me out quite a bit with it.
Well, because also there's like a bunch of people on the internet that show you it's not, no bodies are wrong, no bodies are right. There's so many different bodies, but the little charts where you see your body shape and they tell you what jean to wear, I'm like, it honestly really works. Like I have these new Madewell jeans and then like they look so good because I'm more of a rectangle shape. I don't really go in at the waist. I don't go out at the hips. I'm just like straight up and down. And those make me almost look like the illusion that I have some shape to me, So those little charts, I'm like, I love them because if it makes you feel good.
And that's why I think that's why I love our influencing job, because you can literally show different clothes on different body types and be like, wait, that one looks like me. No wonder these jeans don't look good on me. There are so many jeans that I literally cannot put on. I do not feel comfortable in them. They don't look good on me. They're hard to button in all the different areas, but then there's some that I'm like, okay, this is it. These are the ones. And so figuring that out, as somebody who dealt with weight struggles for pretty much all of my 20s, I mean, up and down, even my later teens, I still at the time looked at myself in the mirror and would see a much larger body. And I remember it so well, the body dysmorphia that I had when we started this podcast, Amy, like it was on the way to recovery, because I just stopped binge eating, on a almost daily basis at that point. But it was still trying to figure out, okay, what is my relationship with myself when I look in the mirror? I remember every single time, no matter how big my thighs were, I always thought they were so much bigger. And my focus was always on my thighs. And I brought that up in the podcast episode of just always being so hyper fixated on my thighs. Like looking back now, I'm like, I just wish I could have loved her so much more. Like just those thighs got me through marathons. They got me through pregnancies and babies. They walk me everywhere. Like our bodies are meant to propel us through this world, and not just to look at, but I was so hyper fixated on what they looked like, what they looked like. And I just wish I wouldn't have. And listening back to the episode, oh my gosh, I could put myself right back in those shoes. The body dysmorphia was so real. I wouldn't say it's completely cured at this point with body dysmorphia, but when I look in the mirror, I think that I see who I am. But the thing that I struggle with as far as body insecurity isn't exactly a look. It's the not feeling strong.
You talk about it a lot.
Yes. And I get so nervous. As a person who's living with an autoimmune condition. I have Hashimoto's. One of the symptoms is my muscles can actually get less strong. They actually weaken. There are so many days where I feel really fatigued. Have been in a really, really good stretch, but the thing with autoimmune conditions is that like something can trigger it and you can go right back to feeling like how you were. And I'm always so terrified of not feeling strong. Like I would rather put on 10 pounds, 10 pounds and be strong and feel strong. And like I did in my 20s, than feel weak like I had about a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was really at my lowest point. And my numbers on the scale were very low, but also how I felt in my body was so low because of how weak I felt. So it's just really, really hard when so many people so hyper fixate on a number on a scale or a number on a pair of pants, what they look like in the mirror, when you deal with a real health issue, it kind of flipped it for me. That's when it flipped it.
A lot of people say that. Yeah. They're like, I would take that body that I hated 10 years ago, you know, because now they're dealing with something that's like much, much harder. It's all relative. It's all hindsight, you know, but I think the message here is just, we've both really worked on some of these things that really hold women up. And honestly, we just don't want it to be the headline of our life, to be our bodies. And we've both, I think, really shown that on the internet with the way that we show up and the way that we conduct ourselves. Okay. Proudest moment. At the time, I said that Drew and I were day in and day out kind to each other. I love that one because I just think a lot of the times that is hard, you know, like I was saying, like, yeah, of course we have our little moments, but to be very nice to each other. And now I would say we've had, because you guys understand, I'm a boy mom of 3. You see it on the internet. My house is so crazy and it's very overwhelming for me and their brother. So sometimes the way that they talk to each other or the way that they physically interact with each other isn't soft. And so sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, are they like, you know, how are they outside of this house? But all 3 of them have gotten, over the years, the nicest notes back from their teachers to talk about how kind they are and to just really praise. I mean, I especially remember Max's is like, he talks to everyone. He includes everyone. He is one of the kindest kids. And that just makes me like, okay, we are doing something right at home because we are kind to each other. It's like trickled down and we are kind to everyone outside of our house. It trickles down to your kids. And even if your view of them is like that they wrestle around and they're so crazy and like this, like honestly, because sometimes when we get the notes home, Drew's like, he's shocked. He's like, doesn't believe it. Kid? Yeah. And I'm like, babe, you have to understand the way they are at home doesn't mean that obviously at school they can't wrestle around like this. So to be raising kind kids, and of course every kid makes mistakes and like you have to teach them and work through that. But overall to know that like they're going into the world and they're really pretty kind is really cool.
Well, we spend a lot of time with your kids and I can attest to they are very, very kind. I have some really very, very funny conversations with Max over the last week. It's been a lot of fun. I've gotten to know him quite a bit over the last couple of days here. I said Ironman triathlon finish. If I could take that one back, I would. That was from 2012.
Okay, so but mind you did get a tattoo. That's for your marathon, but you did get a tattoo of your body.
I know. So it was something I was very, very.
You fell into like the memes where it's like, how do you know if someone's from?
How do you know if someone's run a triathlon? They tell you. Yeah. Like, how do you know if someone's an Ironman? They tell you.
It's a very physically demanding like moment that you should be proud of. You're just saying maybe you wouldn't pick it.
Like I wouldn't pick it now. Definitely not now. I mean, I don't even. Yeah, very, very funny. I was very, very proud of myself back in 2012. But now I would say, I mean, since the podcast started, I got pregnant with Owen. We went through the pandemic. I switched careers. I went from full-time to part-time, switched careers. We had a pandemic pregnancy, which was something that was absolutely crazy. Anybody who has went through it with me, you guys get that. And then we had a special needs diagnosis.
Yes.
And then we had surgery after surgery after surgery. And then we had a move. And then we had our dog die. I mean, there was like literally so many things that happened within like months of each other. And then like a couple more months would happen and more things would happen. There was just so much change. And as somebody who doesn't deal with change well, historically never have dealt with change well, I'm very proud of myself for the change that I have. I mean, it wasn't always easy. I got an autoimmune condition partway through that, most likely because of some of those triggers that happened because my body didn't deal with the stress. But I feel like now we're at a point where the little changes are honestly harder for me than the big changes. If it's a big change that I know isn't going to be temporary, I'm like, we got to figure this out. We got to figure this out. I don't want to figure this out, but we got to figure this out. I will say that I still have a hard time with the changes that are temporary. If I know that it's going to end at some point, I will complain every single day until it ends.
Walking trail being closed.
The walking trail being closed. Those 9 weeks were tough, guys. Those 9 weeks were tough.
No, I'm very proud of you. That was truly so much to go through in a short amount of time. And I remember when you were going through it, it was like you would almost minimize it.
Yeah.
And you would be like, I don't know why I'm so tired.
As a person who never cried, who's never tired, all of a sudden was just crying all the time.
Crying all the time, tired all the time. Like you were, and I would be like, Abby, think about it. You have moved a house. You've had a baby with Down syndrome. I would name all your stuff and you would be like,
I could deal with that. I can deal with that.
Like, you don't know me. I'm Abby Green. So I do think now too, you're better at acknowledging your hardships. And I do think that's going to help your health, because when you shove everything down and you tell yourself, and the thing is, as women, we really believe it. We're like, no, I'm fine. I'm just
we're also positive people. So we're like, can we positivity our way into feeling better or into this not being a situation? Yes. And it doesn't always work.
But I do think we're both getting better at being like, okay, this is hard. Like it is a hard time. Yeah. And like, we're allowed to say that and we're allowed to go through that. And it's actually more helpful to acknowledge that it's hard rather than to pretend it's not.
Yeah.
Because that didn't really go well. Okay, the last one we asked 6 years ago. Oh, if you could tell women one thing. And at the time, and like my last answer, it's like at the time I was really, really trying to spread the news on, you're not defined by a number on the scale or your clothing size. I still very much believe that. I would say 6 years later, I'm just thinking like now Abby and I are going to turn 40 this year. And I do think aging is a process that we have to figure out how to be comfortable with it. And I say this as someone with Botox in her forehead. So I'm like, I understand what I do. I understand the things that I do. But I would argue it's not that much. And I feel very comfortable with aging. We can't resist it. We are all going one way. And so I think that working on like, okay, what am I excited for in this next phase of life? What do I have to look forward to? Where are my relationships at? Where are my close friendships at? Like the things that make people happy in life. There's a ton of studies to show you the relationship, like the people that are the happiest are the ones that have like relationships that they can count on, relationships that they trust and love, and they have that intimacy. That doesn't mean you have to have a partner. It means you have to have people in your life you can really count on. So I just think if you can, figuring out how to become more comfortable with the idea that we are about to go into the next decade, the next phase of our lives, and how can you work on your ability to be, if it's important to you, to find joy and happiness in the next phase.
I like that one. And I think it's a lot of mindset shift and then also some differences. I mean, like eating a little bit differently, taking care of yourself, which we're also doing. And we talk about on the podcast all the time.
It doesn't mean like give up and, sit around and eat bonbons. It means, how do I gracefully go into this next phase? What feels good to me? Like, what do I want it to look like? What do I want my exercise and diet to look like? What do I want my relationships to look like?
And make big differences. So at the time I said, just because they do it differently than you doesn't make it wrong. I still like that one, especially when it comes to marriage. I think it's important. Just because they do it differently doesn't mean make it wrong. Doesn't mean you're always right. I could use that one still. I could still use that one still, but I would update it to perfect isn't the goal. And my fellow perfectionists, you guys get this. It never was meant to be. Perfect was never meant to be the goal. Consistency, resilience, those are going to win every single time over finding perfection. And I think that perfection, it can show up in a lot of ways. It can show up in like pushing things off that are really important because you're trying to make it perfect.
Remember the beginning of this?
Yes. I would re-edit the episodes 4 or 5 times. We would redo the sentences to make it perfect. And at the end, it's like, it would have still been a really great podcast if we hadn't spent all that time. So I think that it's the pushing things off, but then it's so inefficient. It takes so much more time and so much more energy to do it that way. So that's the goal, guys. It's never meant to be the goal. So if you can really just come to terms with consistency and having things be pretty darn good, is going to get you so much further in life, whether it's with your diet, with your exercise plan, with your friendships, with your work, with your, how the day is going, with the challenges that you face. Don't focus on perfection. Focus on the other things.
And if we are lucky enough, when we are 46, we will do this episode again.
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
bye.
Thanks for listening.